maybe there's a tax evasion in there, they're gonna need to make a motion on. I don't know why it's not in the back, but
Well, we picked her up
Two of them in here?
Yeah.
Saturday. They've been 2 days with us. That's, and now she's like, leave her.
She's out there.
No, she's at home. She's first one in line.
Good. That's good.
I already did those.
You do this motion, we're gonna have time. Or take. Because if we make the motion, then it's effective right then. There's no time today.
Right. And since we are in session, we can discuss it. So I'm a member of the 4th Judicial District Nominating Committee. Unless somebody else wants it. Let's do it. I don't think.
We've always tried to have a commissioner on that.
No. I think Mr. Dale had been on it before and after, or while he wasn't a commissioner, but that's up to the rest of the commission on that.
I would just suggest we wait and see who your replacement is and go from there.
And then on the ECAN board,
Say the same thing for all the boards you're on.
I would ask to stay on that board.
You want
I'd like to stay on there. That term, I think there's still, I'd have to check, we've got our meeting this week, to see how much time's left, but I know other counties have not had involvement from the commission and have been able to appoint someone to represent them. Just, again, that's a logistics thing, I'm closer, of course, right now, it's on that line.
I don't know. I don't know, that'd be a problem with it.
It'd be a problem to me.
Because,
I don't know why.
because the rest of us, kind of chose that wasn't one we really looked at.
You're listed here on the committees, the board member of the ECAN, but the board member of the 4th Judicial is not mentioned.
Nominate, 4th Judicial District Nominating Committee.
I'm on the advisory board, but I'm just
Yeah.
on the advisory board.
Right.
And I know there are boards that way. Tim Snipes is the area agency for aging. And he hasn't been a commissioner for years. He remained on that board.
Right.
And I'm on it as a commissioner. So, most of the boards take about anyone if they can get them, because it's hard. People don't want to volunteer for boards.
Well, we're having that issue with the ECAN board for Morris County. Nobody wants to do it.
A lot of people just don't want to get involved in that stuff anymore.
Donna, I don't believe you were in the room, but we changed vouchers for next Tuesday.
Okay, thank you.
Guys do the minutes. You guys do the minutes.
No, we haven't yet.
It's 9 o'clock if you wanna take care of the minutes before Lindsay comes in.
Angie did inform me of the passing of Don Small's wife. Maybe we should do it on the silence for the Republican Committee Chairman. Right,
Possible.
passing.
Has she been there?
Yeah.
I never had that many different meters going on, so.
I've met her several times. Surprised me. So sad take.
I agree with Tom.
Take a moment of silence.
And I just said, Don is probably, if not watching, he will be watching, so we send our condolences to Don. And you have Vic back with us.
Thank you.
Two of them look together.
Everyone has a minute to review, a moment to review our minutes from last Monday's meeting. So,
Second.
Tom has moved, Dawn is second. All in favor, say aye.
Abstain.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 401. We have two tax abatements.
I don't know why it's not in your.
So they're not in a pack, I don't have nothing in my pack.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't get them.
Looks like it came in at 240 on the 17th. Or when generated
It's
in
probably
the
still in the
appraiser's
box
office.
upstairs. Then.
Yeah. Both for the Coffee County Evangelical Ministerial Association. Looks like one is in the amount of $6,410. The other is in the amount of $1,630. Both within the city of Burlington.
What's the reason?
First one for $1,630 is for God's Storehouse. Board of Tax, I assume that's DOTA, Board of Tax Appeals exempted it beginning 9/26/2018. That is for tax year of 2018. Then the next one for $6,410 is the same reason that was for the tax year of 2019.
Both on the same building.
Yes. It was exempted. It was exempted in 18, so there was a partial year for 18, and then you got the whole year of 19.
And the total on that's $1,033.38. Change.
Yeah.
Is that taxes just on their building that they have there? Or is it on some others?
Must be just on their building.
Just on the door.
It's on the app, on that location.
I'm surprised it's that high to start with.
Downtown building.
Pardon?
Downtown building.
They carry that kind of value?
Some of them, well, the tax rate's higher
Right.
than the commercial.
It's exempted, so it would be a higher value of it. Not just an adjustment.
Yeah, so they're taking the whole value off.
So I'll make that motion.
Tom has moved,
I'll second.
Bob is second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Two miscellaneous motions here. One to appoint a current vice chairman to chairman, and then one to appoint someone as vice chairman. Are there any nominations?
Let's see the first motion written out. Tom.
Move to appoint the current vice chairman, Tom Huguenin, as chairman of the Coffee County Board of Commissioners for the remainder of the year 2020 due to the resignation of the chairman, Cody Howe, effective
Effective.
There's Monday.
Friday. Friday at 5. Friday at 5.
You wrote on it. It goes in there.
It's the 24th.
Yeah.
Actually, we could make him chairman effective now.
Yeah, you do it.
You're
You do it
still,
now.
and you're still a member.
Yeah.
You're just a member.
Doesn't matter. You want the rest of the meeting?
It doesn't matter.
That's totally up to you.
I'll let you finish out your day. How's that?
Okay.
We can do it, like you said, your letter of resignation said the 24th is not coming, correct?
Yep.
I'll just run it to there.
I didn't see the resignation.
You want, it was last week.
Okay. Yeah. All right, you guys can call whenever it is.
Move to appoint current vice chairman, Tom Huguenin, as chairman of the Coffee County Board of Commissioners for the remainder of the year of 2020 due to the resignation of the chairman, Cody Howe, effective Friday, July 24th, 5 p.m. Were you making that motion, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay. Bob is moved,
Yes, I'll make that.
I'll say it.
Don is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries 5-0. Our nominations as vice chairman.
And I'll make John Means.
I'll second.
Move to appoint Don Means as Vice Chairman of the Coffee County Board of County Commissioners for the remainder of the year of 2020, effective Friday, July 24th at 5 p.m. Tom has moved. Fred is second. All in favor, say aye.
I'll just abstain on that motion.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0-1. Okay, Lindsay, if you're ready. What you want?
So I don't have a regular report for you today because we are in COVID response again. It's taken us away from our normal duties. So we currently have 60 total cases for Coffee County. And in addition to that, we have 3 presumptive positives. And that's not a number that we've reported to this point, but I do want to let you know what that is. That means we have a close contact of a positive case who's been in quarantine, and they have in turn began to have symptoms that coincide with COVID. If we were to test them, we could, but we just assume they have it. And we would test them if it would change the investigation. If they had 20 contacts, we would test them to make sure. But this is the case where they've already been in quarantine, so they don't have any contacts to add to the cases. So we don't test them unless they want it. We just presume them positive and treat them as though they're a regular case. So we do have 3 of those at this time. All of those are being isolated. The contacts are being told to quarantine. We feel that we have it fairly contained. And as of today, we will report 1 recovery with that. And so I think our total case count will be 1 less today when it comes out. So
how many recoveries total have you had out of the 60?
Well, we had 8 deaths. So we had 52,
How many active cases?
how many active cases? I feel like if I say a number, by the end of the day, it'll change. So I don't want to jinx us.
As of 9 a.m. this morning.
As of 9 a.m., we have 6 active cases. I did want to point out that it's really difficult as a health department administrator to not have a little bit of frustration with this, and I know you guys know how we've been dealing with this from day one, but I want to just publicly say that part of that frustration comes because we've been required to have disease containment plans since 2008. The state gives us money every year to have these plans. They're expensive. The state gives us money to practice how to do disease containment. They make us have meetings about it. They make us go to trainings about it. And they have extensive, what we call disease investigation guidelines for each reportable disease. That's in addition to these plans. So I just want to be clear that we've planned for this, we've trained for this. We know how to do this. We do this behind the scenes on a daily basis. So when COVID comes out and certain people in power get to make decisions that don't coincide with the plans that they themselves have made us have, it's very difficult. And some of that comes from, like last week, we had a 2.5-hour planning meeting with Burlington Schools. Great meeting. We're all on the same page. We end it well with the start of a plan to go forward. And then that afternoon, the governor makes decisions that just wipe all that work out. So you can understand, please, how frustrating this can be. But I did want to point out a few things that media isn't reporting that I feel that people need to know. And as of Friday, Kansas's recovery rate is 98.64%. That's the number KDHE gives us as the number of cases that haven't died, that have been positive, divided by the number of the population of Kansas. Or the people that have been positive. So people who've recovered out of the people that have died. 98.64%. Only 0.75% of the population of Kansas has been infected so far. 0.75%. Only 0.2% of Kansas children have been infected as of this morning. So in last flu season, sadly enough, 185 children died in the US from influenza. 185 kids died from flu. So far, only 31 children in the US have died from COVID. So you can see when schools and the state are telling us to not reopen or to delay reopening or to have all of these crazy plans for reopening, more kids die from the flu, and we do not do this. We do not do this. So you can see how some of this just doesn't make a lot of sense to those of us who live this, breathe this, do this, plan for this, train for this, have prepared for this for more than 12 years. So what my stance is as county health nurse, what you've paid me to do for the last 15 years, I have to make some assumptions here. I think we have to assume that we cannot take the risk of COVID to zero. It is impossible. And we saw that, right? We had lockdowns or stay-home orders. And what happened then? We had our highest number of cases and our highest number of deaths in Coffee County, right? Everyone was staying home and we still had people dying and we still had people sick at our highest numbers. We saw that in Emporia, our neighboring county, when they had their strictest closures. They had their highest number of outbreaks, their highest number of deaths. I think we can clearly see that that is not the solution to this, in my personal and professional opinion. But that's my assumption. We cannot take this risk to zero. We just can't. We have to assume that people will get sick with this. I mean, after the 4th of July that we had in our county, I think we had several county celebrations going on, and we only got 6-7 cases from that. I'm honestly not surprised. I'm actually pleasantly surprised that it wasn't more than that. And I think we have to know after fair, I think we have to expect a spike. I mean, that's expected, right? When school starts again, it's to be expected. Adults are going to get this, kids are going to get this, but 98.6% of them will recover. That's what we're seeing. That's the clear data that KDHE puts out. So I just really feel that we as a government cannot stop this from occurring. What you pay us to do is to follow our plan. We isolate the ill. We make them stay home as best we can. We quarantine the exposed and make them stay home as best we can. And so far they have been very cooperative, very great to work with. We love talking to them every day, getting to know our residents. We help them, we deliver them food, we deliver them ice chips, we deliver them medications. That's what we do. They've been amazing to work with. I strongly feel, and I've talked to the schools about this, that if public health could just be allowed to do our job, we wouldn't have to close schools. If we get a case in a school, we take the ill person home and we isolate them, we quarantine their contacts, just like we always do. That's how this works. Doesn't mean we close buildings and close districts and close all the offices everywhere. It's take sick people home, the exposed home. That's how this works. And I just want you all to know the stance that I'm coming from, what I feel is common sense, what they've paid us to do for all these years. I wish they would let us do it. So if you want anything different from me, please tell me. We continue to educate. We continue to put out the guidance that's recommended. We continue to answer all of the calls. But I just want you to know, if you feel we're being too lax, please let me know. But I feel with a 98.6% recovery rate, that's what makes sense. I just had to share with you where frustrations are coming from when we make plans and then get told we can't follow them. So anyways, our people are doing well. We expect many more recoveries this week, and I'm not going to say number because I don't want to jinx us, but so far, this round is going very well. So that's, sorry, but you can see how passionate I am about this, and you can see how frustrating it is.
I think there's a lot of frustration came out last week after the governor's address from not only health departments, but school administrators as well. Any other questions for Lindsay?
No, but I think as counties, we ought to get together and take our counties back instead of letting the state control our counties. And I agree 100% with what Lindsay's saying basically on this stuff. I've read all this information that's on the codes and the schools and everything else. And some of it contradicts itself. I think we need to start taking control. Maybe we need, as a county, we need to be calling head county people, KCC, KAC, and telling them, hey, guys, let the counties take care of themselves. Just because Shawnee County does it doesn't mean Coffee County's got to do it.
Yeah. And what's frustrating about those documents is that there were hundreds of people that spent hundreds of hours this summer creating those documents. And the documents themselves say elementary schools should reopen. The risk of children under age 10, it's just not there. That document says that. And it says children under grades under 6th and under don't need to wear masks. And then the governor comes out and says completely the opposite of that. So it's just really confusing why so many resources are used in something and then that's changed in an instant. I would love to know the reasoning behind that. And local health departments aren't included in those decisions. We're the ones doing all this work and we don't get to be included in those decisions or reasonings or at least have an explanation. But it's wearing on us. It really is wearing on us. We're doing our best. And thankfully our partners have been working very well with us. Our staff is showing up every day doing this hard work, but it's getting to the point of, at some point, I mean, I even question what is my job anymore because I can't do my normal work. This is what consumes everything I do. And I feel like I'm failing you in the other areas you hired me to do. We're doing our best, but.
Is there any discussion on the Department of Health overruling her? Because don't they have it? My understanding is they've got to overrule. The
school board does.
It's a school board.
With school decisions, my understanding is HB 2016 allows the State Board of Education to have the final say for schools. So they could. And but I don't know that they can do that until they've seen the order, which I don't think comes out till today. So at this point, we don't know. We don't even know what the order will say until we see the black and white. So, but I just thank you for listening to me and thank you for taking the time to hear my frustrations and understand where we're coming from. If you ever want me to change that approach, please let me know. If you want us to be more strict than we're being, we will. But I feel like if we can follow our plans and do what we've planned on doing this whole time, then we're doing our jobs. So But thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Lindsay.
for that.
You're doing a great job, Lindsay.
Thank you.
Yeah, Wayne is here.
Gary.
Hiding behind the column.
Good morning.
Morning, Wayne.
Morning. Special issue check on fuel. Well, just moving right on into the engineer's report. So, no road permits, no zoning permits. She's been busy. We've had, several meetings here just last week. The landfill, I'll give a report on construction zone on the landfill. Equipment purchases, what we're looking at is, you'll see in the motion, one motion's for the snow plow, and then the other motions are for the truck and truck bed, and a disposal motion, that's all part of that. So I guess the first one, if you wanted to, Cody, if you wanted to start on the first motion, that'd be the snow plow.
Motion 2020-40, based upon the recommendation of the county engineer and approval of the county attorney as to form, waive the purchasing policy as to competitive bidding for good cause. Said cause being the municipal program pricing with Sourcewell, formerly the National Joint Powers Government Purchasing Alliance, with Coffee County, contract number 118463, and approve the purchase of one Henderson 12-foot RSP snowplow with 36-inch moldboard, full trip design, and attachments from Henderson, Sourcewell contract 080818-HPI. The total amount of $10,156, and authorize and direct the county engineer to sign all documents related thereto. Funding for the purchase will come from the Public Works equipment line item.
The previous purchases on this has actually been slightly higher because we got the brackets. We've purchased the brackets in addition to the snowplow. This one does not. We're replacing the snowplow that has actually had rusted on the moldboard portion of it. So it's a replacement of the snowplow.
Motion 2020-41.
Did we get a vote on that? Yeah.
Probably not yet. If someone wants to make that motion, 2020-40.
So
Don has moved,
I'll second.
and Tom has second. All in favor, say aye.
moved.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
The next one is on 41A is the disposal of T22. Now, this was one truck that we talked about that we visited with the cities. We had visited with the cities at this point. It's my understanding that City of Burlington was looking at the truck, but as at this point is not interested in the truck. And this is disposal of the truck and the bed. And so that's what we have right now. So they would give us a trade-in of $28,000. They being Wichita being work.
Is that what you priced it to Burlington for 28?
Yes, we told them that was the trade-in number, and so that was the price. Kenworth could go either way onto it. If you're finding some other way that you're wanting to dispose of it, they could go either way. It's not necessarily tied into the bid, other than the fact that's what they give us for a trade-in.
Motion 2020-41-A, based upon the recommendation of the county engineer and approval of the county attorney as to form, move to find that one 2008 International 7600 truck, then ending in 675358, unit T 2022 with dump body is no longer required or cannot prudently be used for public purposes of Coffee County, and as such should be disposed of by trade-in to Wichita Kenworth for $28,000. Notice of the board's intention to dispose of said property will be published in the July 23rd and July 30th, 2020 in the official county newspaper.
I'll move.
Fred has moved,
Second.
Tom is second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, and the next two, B, is basically the purchase of the truck that we're looking at. That would be a conventional Kenworth 2021. It's a T800 series. The next motion, C, is the purchase of the dump body. Now, the way that works is once the truck is ready, we take the truck to basically Henderson, and then they put the dump body onto it at that point. And so that's how that works. The existing truck that you're looking at is T22. As we bought it in 2007, our purchase price was $117,000 or close to $118,000. We just had considerable amount of maintenance, and some of it is standard maintenance, but just to give you an idea, from 2007 to 2020, where we're at today, our total cost on maintenance repairs, and as I say, it's ran its course, has been up to $114,000 on this particular truck. So it's the one in the fleet that we feel basically will benefit more by replacing it than trying to maintain it in the fleet.
2020-41-B, based upon the recommendation of the county engineer and approval of the county attorney as to form, to waive the purchasing policy as to competitive bidding for good cause, said cause being the municipal program pricing with Sourcewell, formerly the National Joint Powers Government Purchasing Alliance with Coffee County, number 118463, and to approve the purchase of one 2021 T800 series conventional Kenworth extended cab truck with Allison transmission as per the municipal program pricing in the amount of $128,434, less a trade-in value of $28,000 and the total purchase amount of $100,434. And authorize and direct the county engineer to sign all documents related thereto. Funding for the purchase will come from the 2020 Public Works equipment line item.
So moved.
Tom has moved.
I'll second.
Don is second. All in favor, say
No
aye.
discussion.
Yep.
What's extended cab mean?
Well, we had another one. This Dustin Doors had one. It's about 6 to 8 inches. I can get you more information onto it, Bob, but it's just a slight extension. It's not like our half ton or 3/4 tons as far as extensions. It only extends out about 6 to 8 inches more on the back side of it.
Just a little roomier.
Yes,
So
sir.
you can actually slide the seat back away from the steering wheel.
Yes, sir.
The last truck we purchased was an extended day cab like that too.
That's correct. Yeah, that was what Dustin uses, right?
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. 2020-41-C, based upon the recommendation of the county engineer and approval of the county attorney as to form, to waive the purchasing policy as to competitive bidding for good cause, said cause being the municipal program pricing with Sourcewell, formerly the National Joint Powers Government Purchasing Alliance with Coffee County, number 118463, and to approve the purchase of one Henderson 16-foot Mark E tandem axle dump body as per the Sourcewell contract 118643. Is that right?
118463.
118463.
in the amount of $54,000.
That contract is different. Yeah, the Sourcewell contract for the plow we bought.
Different contract, different piece
contract.
of equipment. Yes, sir.
First Sourcewell contract 118463 in the amount of $54,705, and to authorize and direct the county engineer to sign all documents related thereto. Funding for the purchase will come from the Public Works equipment line item.
So moved.
Second.
Tom has moved, Fred is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. Moving into construction zone. As you can see, we're various locations planned for this week, weather permitting. As we can see, the weather is changing a few times, but we're also trying to stay on track. So our chip seal operation, we're still planning working at this week. We also had some penetration oil that we're going to put down as well, but really can't just wait on the weather, but we'll try what we can. If the weather does stop us, then of course we'll continue when the weather is favorable. We're continuing on the landfill at this point. The floor is almost done. We had some equipment breakdown. They're actually repairing it today if the parts come in. And so our equipment will be back up. Towards the end of the week, we were having some equipment problems and we had to fix those. So the biggest one is getting the floor done, making the tie-in, and then we'll be pushing up the sides after that. And that would be the landfill. The other one is the bridges. As we're looking at the bridges, they had rain, they had some equipment breakdown as well. This is the PBX, the contractor that's doing the concrete bridge deck repairs and polymer overlay. They are at this point down the Leroy Bridge. They had some equipment breakdown here last week that prevented them from being able to put the second coat of polymer on. And so they had to start back again, and actually we're getting parts today, and we should have that bridge finished by tomorrow, weather permitting once again. If it's raining, they cannot be putting the polymer down. And so they are also, at this point, I have not received confirmation, but the bridge on Old Highway 50 was scheduled to be closed today. And then also the asphalt work on the approaches down on Emmer between 8 and 8.5 was also scheduled for asphalt today. And so we had those two locations. But going back to Old Highway 50 on that particular bridge, that closure will be pretty much throughout for probably at this point a minimum of 3 weeks is where we're at. That's a fairly long structure. It won't be accommodating the ability to open, especially on the weekends. So we'll just maintain the detour. It's a much safer detour, I believe. It's not going to necessarily be convenient for the heavy hauls that we have, but that's the best route that we have at this point. And now that particular one also is, we were waiting on the permit from the railroad. So that's where we're at today. I believe we do have the permit, and there will be some full depth repairs, and that was at the midsection. That's what was reported due to all the testing that was conducted by BG. And so we have a lot more work on that particular structure. Going back to the railroad, the permit, the agreement on that is in our contract is the permit cost will be the county's cost. So once I receive that bill, I'll be bringing that forward to you for payment. I do not know the amount at this point, but we're expecting that sometime soon. So that puts you pretty much up to date where we're at. We are doing repairs as we can on the county roads, and we're continuing to mow at this point, so seasonal work that we have.
The south bridge on Emmer, that sucker's worse than it was before they worked on it. It's got 2 humps in it now.
Yes, it
where
does.
only had 1.
Yes, it does. What happened on that one is, as you recall too, it had asphalt onto it. So the original design and perhaps over time settlement had made the bridge what you feel today, okay? So when they put the asphalt onto it, they put the asphalt onto it to correct that rideability, most likely, okay? So when they had placed the asphalt, it made the ride much smoother. But once the asphalt was removed back to the original deck that we're seeing today, then now we have those riding conditions that we're seeing. The only way to correct that one, Bob, is to actually put asphalt back on top of it.
Is that possible?
It is
Because there's a
possible
lot of people that use that are very upset.
with rideability. But keeping in mind, now what we have done is we have strengthened that deck to allow it to have a longer service life. That was our goal, to basically put it in service longer. That's what we had to do, and we had to take that asphalt off. But once you put asphalt on top of it, now, some would argue, well, why would you want to put asphalt back on a freshly polymer surface overlay? Well, you wouldn't necessarily want to, but rideability may demand it where we would need to. But the other side is too, is whenever you put asphalt on any type of bridge, you really are signing the point in which its life expectancy is shortened down to 5 to 10 years for the most part. You found that on the Burlington Bridge when we asphalt them. And if you recall several years back on the twin bridges on the Audubon, is I had placed asphalt on that and then I had to replace them within 5 years because I said that's pretty much your last resort is putting asphalt on top of concrete. That's even parking lots too. Once you put asphalt on top of concrete, the concrete is just going to basically deteriorate. There is one benefit that I'm just trying to think outside the box here. There is one benefit if you put asphalt on top of this polymer. This polymer should be a complete bond that would separate any type of moisture or salt, but it's not normally done, okay? But it can be done. So I'm saying if that's what you would like, we could look at rideability after they get done with approaches, and then possibly at the end of the year, end of the season, is to say if that's what you'd like to do, that is a possibility on that one.
I know we keep telling everybody how good our roads are. Well, I'll guarantee you, if we leave that the way it is, we can quit saying that because we made it worse than what it was.
Well, we made the rideability perhaps
We made it worse.
worse, but the structure we made.
The public is concerned about rideability.
Yes, I agree.
That's what they want.
How it rides and how it looks
Right.
is what they're looking at. Mine is the soundness of the structure. But yes, that's a possibility. I'd like to take a look at it a little bit more, but
Let's take a look at it.
it's a possibility. They're going to be putting these approaches in this week. I'm not to say that's going to make it any better, but at least the approach side of it will be a little bit smoother. But definitely the structure itself is where you're feeling that.
Actually, the approaches are smoother than the structure itself right now.
It probably is, but if you recall way back when we done the Audubon, there was that first structure. It actually had a reverse camber into it, so it felt like a roller coaster ride. I don't remember if anybody remembers that. And so the only way I was able to take it out is actually putting asphalt on top of it. So it's an option. It's one in which I would not prefer just because you shorten the life expectancy of a structure. But all that being said, I do recognize that, Bob. We have talked about it at the office. Where would we be? Where would we want to be? And so it's an option.
Was there some sort of procedure we could have went through to check the rideability prior to the overlay?
Just like we done everything we could. I mean, that's a good question. It's something we always try to seek out.
I mean, we could have done some grinding or maybe adding or.
The thing is the asphalt had to come off to be able to fix the concrete
I
crack.
get that part.
But then
What I'm
after
saying is,
that,
once that's off,
Yeah.
and they do their patching, I know when they do a highway or any KDOT street, they do a photograph, if you will, check rideability. So I mean, straight edge, or was there something we could have done prior to putting the polymer over after they did their patchwork to make sure the rideability was being, and corrected it before then?
Well, the polymer, to be able to do what you're asking, and I follow that, is you could actually put like a thin overlay, concrete overlay onto it
Exactly,
to create your rideability.
exactly.
That's even an option where we're at
Well, now that
today.
we've already polymered, we can't do that.
The polymer actually does act like concrete because we use that for our patch repairs. So there is a possibility.
Is
I
there
didn't look into it.
anything in the spec that says that maybe they should be correcting the profile of the bridge? if you will?
No. Most of our profilographs is definitely used on pavement. Basically long stretches of pavement is what they'll have. But on the bridges themselves, not a lot of times that I've seen the pile, because those are short
When
spans.
we're starting fresh, can we, like, in the future here,
Yeah.
make sure before we
It's
buy the
definitely,
polymer?
it's definitely, something to look at. We can always,
Yeah, I know that there's certain long stretches as KDOT requires photograph, turn lanes are exempt, bridges are exempt, yada,
Yes, sir.
yada, but still, some do require us drilling straight edge to check the rideability and they correct it before they do the polymer over that.
it was definitely unexpected, and it's definitely something we can look at to try to improve on. And I agree, I agree with that. We're probably gonna have some of that on Old Highway 50, but for the most part, that bridge it didn't have any cover, it didn't have any asphalt onto it. But I always like the idea of how we can make things better.
With that long of a span of a bridge, that might be a good,
Yeah,
we would get it done with a rolling straight edge and correct any major defects.
mhm.
It's too late now, but what we know, and we evidently do, it's gonna be a little uneven. Couldn't we have went in there and ground that off and made it smooth like they do when they lay new concrete or new asphalt? There's always places where they grind it and make it level. Take out the humps. Couldn't that have been done there, or is that too expensive?
No, what we had is we didn't know what the bridge surface was until we had the asphalt on. Once we removed the asphalt, then we found basically the concrete deck in which we're laying the polymer on. Keeping in mind the polymer could only take in so much as far as smoothing out uneven areas because it's very thin.
That's what I'm saying, grind it off before the polymer went down.
But what you would have found is, say for example, we took precautions. One is we had each bridge had the cores done onto them to see basically the extent of salts and corrosion that was expected or not to be expected in the rebar. That was one aspect of it. The second one we used was basically the ground penetrating radar, which was somewhat new technology. It wasn't very successful in the Burlington Bridge, we all know that. But also too, it was used to calculate quantities for our repairs. And so with that, we're finding our repairs our quantities to be actually less, actual quantities are actually less than what's being done. But the only other way that you would have been able to calculate quantities would then remove the asphalt, then came back and actually said, okay, this is what repairs that we have to do. And so then you'd have an open-end type contract. You'd had a price per cubic yard of polymer and repairs, but you wouldn't have a volume. The thing is, you'd had to negotiate the volume after the fact, after you removed the asphalt, because of these bridges, 4 of them had asphalt, 1 had chip seal, which had been down in Leroy, and then the 6th one didn't have anything, didn't have chip seal or asphalt. So what we had is we'd had a contract that we didn't have a volume on.
Yeah, I get all that, but can we, on the next bridge, even on Highway 50, instead of doing something like what Bob's describing, because actually my farm's out that way, and I noticed a big difference too. Can we try not to do that there?
And I agree with what Tom's saying. I'll go back to my original thing, that we've talked all the way around it. Let's take a look at it and see if we can increase the rideability.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna keep getting phone calls. If I keep getting phone calls, believe me, I'm gonna keep bringing it up.
Just have them call me.
But
I Yeah,
And
I
you
take
make
it very
comments,
serious.
we will look at it and see what we can do. So let's
I take it very serious.
do that.
We're gonna look at it and see what we can do.
Oh, yeah.
And if asphalt's an option, I'll bring that forward.
Wouldn't be a big fan of that just because the longevity of the bridge being decreased after spending all that money.
Be a question for the polymer company.
That's right, because the other side of it is you got the warranty, you have the warranty onto it. And so those would be things that have to be asked. So, that's all I have, unless you have anything.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Wayne.
Wait.
Morning.
Morning.
Quick break on the agenda.
Who's doing it?
Did you email these to me, Donna, as well? That way, the link's on there, I just gotta click on it, correct?
I think so, but I'll check just to be sure.
Thank you.
Good work. You see that, New Jersey, FedEx, so look to federal judges, those are actually FedEx. We're good there. Judge's son, 20-year-old son. No.
Charlotte has gone on a little trip. And she's got this big black dog.
Yeah.
Have you seen him?
Uh-huh.
He's part Great Dane and part Lab,
Wow. He looks like a lab to me.
but he's got the size of a Great Dane. He weighs 100 pounds.
Wow.
He's a little bit deceiving. But anyway, my wife fixed a roast for Sunday dinner. And right after dinner, you know, we got that big bar. She put it on the plate and put it in the center of that bar, thinking that it was safe. And she went out to do something, I went out to do something, and when we got back, the roast was gone. And it was most of it, about a $12
Well, he ate well.
He did, it didn't take him very long to do it.
That's funny. Well, good thing it was after he ate.
Yeah.
Christmas story, didn't you?
Yeah.
This is, recognition
Get all the history on that.
letters. Yeah, I talked to I know. Yep, the two of them. Yeah, because the third, his doesn't live. Here, that's what Heather said. There were two. Sandy, she was out here. So, I go inside.
I just want to say, we tell Lindsay how much we appreciate her and everything she comes in. But I think we really need to recognize the rest of that office, because those girls, when other people were home on days off, working from home, those girls were here working late into the evenings, they were working weekends, everything else. So that whole office, I think we need to say thank you to them for what they've done.
Real quick before Lisa comes in. Yeah. Something for us?
I'd like to introduce my new employee. This is Shelley Cole. She will be our field appraiser. You just wanted y'all to know who she was. Welcome, Shelley.
Thank you, Shelley. Would you just walk right over here, please? Turn right around and look at that camera and let everybody know who you are.
Wow, Shelley Cole.
Thank you, Shelley.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I guess Lisa is somewhere in Burlington, at least we know for sure.
Road and Bridge.
Is it Road and Bridge? Okay. Well, we can start roundtable. Because you probably got something for roundtable.
Sure. So, one bit of new news that I just got off the phone with the Department of Agriculture, and then I got on the phone with Darrell Henson. We have our first positive case of BSV in Coffee County, which is horse. It affects horse, cow, sheep, pigs, llamas. I don't know. I think it's predominantly been in horses right now. But we do have our first confirmed case of that in Coffee County. So they said that anybody that wants to know more information about it can go to the Kansas Department of Agriculture website and then add /BSV, then it takes you right to the page. Find out what information there is about that.
What's the BSV stand for?
Vesicular stomatitis. Yeah, that. Can't remember that last.
Is it
And the horses would get sores in and around their mouth.
not uncommon now?
Well, kind of uncommon
Yeah,
in the area. But it is-
Contagious?
yeah.
It is a communicable disease, I think
Yeah.
flies.
Yeah, the flies, they said flies and manure management are the main things. They said nuzzle isn't so much a thing as the fly bite and manure management is the preventative measures. And then they quarantine the premise. So whenever they find out that livestock on that premise has it, that premise is quarantined. But they don't give out they don't make the address public. But they told me that Doctor's working with the premise, so the local vet knows about it. So, little piece of news that I just got. And then I'm just gonna pass this around and let the commission kind of have to get the final. I think we're ready to send this out unless the commission has any changes as far as the, just been tweaks just a little bit here and there since I emailed it to you guys, but, just a letter. Wade reviewed it. I think I had Angie and Karen review it, of course, my staff reviewed it, so I think we're ready to send that out. And the second page is kind of the application form. And then along with it, we'll go out a spreadsheet. I didn't make a copy of it for everybody, but a spreadsheet. And then for the governmental agencies, there's the draft, or not the draft, the sample resolution that they recommend that cities, hospitals, schools pass before we give them any money, basically saying that they are going to abide by the deal. And then I think before Wade and I talked some, before we would hand out any money to any private individuals, we'd come up with some sort of a form for them to sign that says they'll comply with.
And Russell, I'm gonna back you up just a little bit. You use the words, the letter, the spreadsheet, so maybe, so the people who are watching, because
So,
I know everybody here knows what you handed it out, but
so for the coronavirus relief fund, which was funded by the federal government CARES Act. And so this will be the information on how to, for government agencies, private businesses, non-governmental agencies to apply for the coronavirus relief funds.
and then the spreadsheet also ties to that. Just so people, when they watch or hear, like, what letter?
And there'll be two things. There's past expenses and then there's future projects. So, and it's a long list of details on what's available, which I've spoke to before, and what's not eligible. And it's constantly getting tweaked, updated. So if the commission doesn't have any issue with that letter, we're probably going to forward that out today for Con Ed. And then the other thing is to date, I only have names from 2 commissioners. Still waiting on names from 3 commissioners to put on the.
I just got them this morning.
Okay. So, so name and contact information would be great. And then the other thing is, Angie contacted a couple of local accounting firms and they said they weren't interested. I contacted the ones Fred mentioned and left messages, one with a secretary and one with just a voicemail. I've got a couple proposals from other firms, but I don't think I have enough yet to make a recommendation. They're talking in the 5, one of them's 5% of funds expended, another one's flat fee of so much. This other one gives a max, so much per hour, for hours they work with a maximum. So I need to get a few more in, I think, before I can make a recommendation on which way to go. So hopefully by next Monday, assuming we still want to do that.
Quite a few counties going with the Southeast Kansas organization.
So as president of the Kansas Emergency Management Association, we're putting out through the association, asking for everybody to send in who they're using or who they're thinking about using. And then our website person is going to put it all in a sheet and see who everybody uses. So I believe it's Lyon County, Osage County, and another one are using this firm out of Lawrence. But I don't know, and this is what I'm gonna have to talk with Wade and Angie and Karen a little bit more about, as far as like, do they need to be a CPA? Obviously we prefer to stay in state, but some of the out of state ones I've talked to seem a little more versed in it. So it's gonna be a lot of different things. It's gonna be a little bit different apples, oranges. Yeah.
Just let her hear, Russ. Who's it all gonna be going to?
So my initial email will be cities, schools, of course, the hospital, newspaper. It'll be posted on Facebook. It'll be posted on the website. I mean, it's for anybody and everybody. And so it's for, all the commissioners will get it via email. You can forward it to whoever you want to forward it to. Just kind of a mass, putting it out there. Okay. Does the commission have any direction or any thoughts on, as far as using the accounting firm? From what I've seen so far, the prices are ranging from the one that was going to cap it, do it by hourly and cap it was like $45,000. This other one was going to do 5% of funds expended, so that could be up to 5% of the 1.7. So I did have that number, but I don't know what that number is right now. So, and it's something I think, more discussions with Karen and Angie and Wade, as far as, how much is it worth? Because it's not like we're going to be giving them the money. We're going to be writing the checks. I mean, we're going to be accounting for it. Is it worth like the $175,000? Maybe it is, but we gotta discuss that a little more, I think. I don't know if the commission has any input or direction on that,
But when Russell talked to me about it, I've recommended that he contact some of the other counties that are using at least one or more of the same accounting firms and see what their pay structure is, because if other counties are doing the same thing, then I don't know how we can ask for something different. But if what they're recommending to Coffee County as for the structure is different than what they're doing with other counties, then that's something we need to know too. So.
yeah. And the one in-state one, who's working with, I know it was Osage and Lyon, and there was another one. but they said they probably weren't gonna take on anymore, but he asked what we've done so far, and I explained what all we've done. We started forming our committee and went through everything we've done. He goes, oh, well, you've already done a lot of the work, so yeah, we could take you on too. But they were gonna charge us the same rate as what they were doing all this stuff for the other counties, and so I thought, that didn't seem exactly right. So I don't know. But just have to keep studying it. And I guess the biggest question, I think the commission's kind of already said, but, you know, obviously this isn't going through a normal bidding process, and it's can be somewhat of a substantial amount, but it's obviously pretty unique. Just double checking and make sure the commission's okay with using this process, because my assumption is that you waive the normal bidding process, or this is a professional fee thing, so it's okay to do it this way.
It's a professional service that has a different process within the county. And this is a unique situation, and I think right now, the county's being very transparent about the process and how it's going about, and it's not just picking some accounting firm, just sua sponte, it's going through a process, and I think that process is, as far as I can tell at this point, transparent, so you're advising the board
and so I guess I'd make the statement, you know, for anybody watching, that there is an accounting firm that feels that they are capable of this, especially one in county or in a nearby county that's interested. Please let us know that you are interested, if we haven't contacted you.
I'd like to see you check 17 county coalition we're in, the district we're in, because I think you get on down south a little bit, I think there's a bunch of them using the same thing, and it's a county organization. I'd like for you to check with them and see.
Is that one you checked with already here?
Which one?
The Southeast Kansas?
The planning, yeah, and they were not interested in taking that on. They thought it would be better to get a CPA.
Answers that.
and Russell or Angie or someone who knows. I saw an email that the 1.7 was dispersed. Well, all the money was dispersed, but I assume.
Well, that's the thing. I forgot. Karen emailed me this morning and said the money showed up in the bank.
And it's in that special fund. That's great.
Yes.
970.
Yeah.
We use the interest off of that money also.
It's supposed to be a non-interest bearing fund.
Non-interest bearing.
They have to finish setting up the lines, but that's what they're thinking.
Any other questions?
Is there more, I apologize, I haven't stuck my nose into this deep enough yet, but I see grants to small businesses to reimburse the cost of business interruption caused by required closures. So any small business in Coffee County can submit an application to be reimbursed for lost revenue?
No, not lost revenue. It's for expenses. So if your business had to close and your workers you kept them on and they were painting or whatever, and you didn't get like the other federal funds, you could submit for that as an expense. You could submit for keeping the electricity on if you had, like a restaurant.
Utilities.
Yeah, if a restaurant had, commercial grade equipment rented, leased in their kitchen, and they couldn't use it for that, whatever, 60 days that they were closed, they could submit for that. I think even, you're not guaranteed to get it, you're not guaranteed to get everything you submit for. But, my thought is if they didn't have a drive-up window and they put in a drive-up window, that would be something they could submit for, but they cannot. And governments, so city, county, that has a sales tax deal, and they say, oh, our sales tax revenue's down, you can't submit for that. You can't submit for lost revenue. You can only submit for expenses. And so if you bought the plexiglass and put up the plexiglass and, 5 times the amount of sanitizer that you normally buy and that kind of stuff. And they even gave examples of which it doesn't affect us, but just an example is in Woodson County, they got the meat locker. If they can do something to increase their production, like if their freezers, their bottleneck, they could put in and ask for a new freezer to help be able to process more, for example, or some machine that they can't, like their issue is they can't get people hired. If there's some sort of meat cutter machine that they could buy to improve their capacity, they could put in for something like that. Since it's food, food supply related. But anything that would be, what was considered critical infrastructure would have a more, whatever the word I'm looking for is, more emphasis on the non-critical infrastructure. But that would be part of what the committee has to come up with, okay, what's gonna be our scoring system or grading system, or, that's gonna be one of their jobs.
So in other words, if a business wants to expand their operation, you think funds like that would be?
I don't know about expand.
Well, if they're putting in a new freezer, you're expanding.
Well,
on the foods, if you're expanding something to take in more animals, that's expansion.
On the food service side, on the food supply, I should say food supply side. If you're processing food, yeah, I think that would be an expense approved by the state. But if it's just, want to expand to make widgets that doesn't have anything directly to do with public safety or health or food supply, no. But if it's to improve the safety of the workers in your plant, adding plexiglass between each workstation or, whatever, if you can tie it to greater safety for employees for virus spread, yes. Any other questions? Okay, good. Thank you.
Thanks, Russell. Mike, did you have something for roundtable real quick?
Yes, sir. Just wanted to give an update on the OK Kids. Saddens me to inform the board that we have to cancel the 2020 event. We have a lot of entities that are a part. It just saddens me. I'm sorry. We've been doing this for, this would have been our 20th event, and we came close several times in the past years having to cancel. Due to this COVID, it's just tough. We have so many entities that's involved in OK Kids, from the small private business owners to, law enforcement, EMS, federal, the federal parks, and the Corps of Engineers. And, we sat in a meeting for an hour the other day and went over this, and, finally we had to come to an understanding that, we're gonna have to cancel the event for 2020. We're sitting in limbo with some of the federal parks, the Corps of Engineers, and with some of the Kansas Department of Wildlife, Parks and Tourism. They're kind of sitting there waiting on their bosses. They can at any moment say, no, you can't do this. And so if we lose one of those entities, we lose a lot of support at this event for the stuff that's going on, because they bring so much into this for us to have this event. The Corps of Engineers, I got to fill out a contract every year to house this out there. And that contract would be pending. The Corps main offices down in Tulsa would be like, no, we ain't doing this. So a lot of things came into effect with this. A lot of outside information was brought to us, and final result of it was that we had to cancel it. And I felt it was fair to the board. You guys are one of our big contributors to OK Kids, and you guys support us, and you have our back on this. And I just want to let you guys know that unfortunately, this is the decision we had to make on this.
Sorry to hear it. Really, especially given Lindsay's report that she made this morning. So.
You betcha. And we stood strong on that. I came to you guys and I said, we want to live our life, we want to move forward with this, and we'll take everything into consideration. But also can't control bosses of those federal programs. Mm-hmm. So again, thank you guys. I appreciate your support, and be here next year.
And there's probably no way it can be done without the core.
No,
You gotta have the core.
dude, we take pride in the Coffee County OK Kids because we set this up as a 2-3 day deal. When this was started, across the state, there's places that had it for 2 hours in a Walmart parking lot. And yeah, it's outdoors, but you're still not working on it. And then trying to get outdoors somewhere, trying to go somewhere, we got a lot of federal land around us, where would we put it? What would we do? Last year we talked about going down to Kelly Park because of the rains and stuff. And even then, it made a big.
What about the New Strawn Lake? They got a lot of space. They got fishing. They may even allow canoeing or something for a period of time. I know they've always been a sponsor with that.
Correct. And one of the factors here, and I'm not trying to talk myself out of this, but one of the factors here is the Federal Wildlife and Parks guys. They bring in several of the events. And so when their bosses say, no, we're not going to contribute or participate, that part of it's gone. Wildlife and Parks is the same way. So our fishing derby that we have every morning for OK Kids, that's part of Wildlife and Parks. Then we lose that staffing that comes and helps us with that. Insurance, that became an issue this year. And we're not even sure we can get insurance due to having a big get together like this. We're still, waiting to hear on that. So we've talked about it, Bob. I mean, we really have. I mean, we looked at many different angles, and unfortunately, COVID sucked. So, but I thank you guys for your support. Thanks, Mike.
Hey, do you ever take a round?
I want to remind the board about some policy manual updates or revisions that were passed out some time ago, and I think so that they get acted on. One of them is the purchasing policy revision that I think I handed out some time ago. I think we just need to get it on the agenda so it can be, the request was made, I don't remember when now, for that to be brought before the board, and if you recall, it had to do with when items are brought in from a vendor, what happens with those items. There's a proposed revision that I think I gave to the board some time ago. The second is the CCTV policy that I spent a lot of time putting together, and I need to get with the sheriff to make sure that some of the wording meets the sheriff's approval, because it deals with some of his employees and how the CCTV footage is used or could be used in an inappropriate way. And they have a lot of oversight with that. I don't think there's anything going on there, but I think it does need to be included just for kind of a safety valve so that everybody's held accountable. Outside of that, I just would ask that both of those items, and it could be as simple as whenever it needs to be put on the agenda for whatever time is available for county personnel policy revision and update discussion, something of that nature, so that it just gets done. Otherwise, I don't know if it'll get done. And it's kind of just sat in the background for a little while. So the second one is, I was advised there was a citizen in the county that was a little bit concerned about the extension of the disaster declaration last week, that it was indefinite. And I explained to them the process and what the discussion was behind the scenes for it to be passed as indefinite. And after discussing it with them, I indicated that my request would be to the board that there at least be a date in the future where it's set to review that particular resolution to see if any action needs to be taken. And that way it just doesn't go on indefinitely, which is what their concern was. So I'm requesting that that particular resolution be set for review on September 14th agenda. And then it may be 30 seconds where the board is updated and it gets set again, but at least there's a way to track it. And I think that's what the concern was. So I'm responding to that concern. Outside of that, I don't have anything else.
Angie?
Yes. Okay, so I needed to ask you guys about, I had a department, not an elected department, but another department, employees were questioning while this COVID stuff has been going on and people were working from home. There were some employees that were here all the time. They were not able to take vacation, and so their hours are building up. And so they had asked me if you guys had thought of anything as far as maybe allowing them to carry more hours over at the end of the year, or what. I said that you guys hadn't talked about anything like that. You know, our policy manual is clear on what we practiced throughout all the years, but this has been an unusual year for everyone. And so for those employees that, you know, have had to be here, that we're unable to take vacation or whatever, I don't know if that's anything you want to consider or not, but they asked me if I could bring it up, and I said I would, so.
Have we ever bought back vacation?
Yeah.
Have we ever bought back vacation?
When they leave, we have, but we've never.
Instead of carryover, I've been past employers, you banked so many hours vacation that you had the option of getting basically paid for, if you didn't take vacation, you can sell back X number of hours.
We still have 5 months this year to take that vacation.
Right.
I mean, it's not like we're down to the middle of December.
Right. And I think it's coming from employees that maybe would have traveled out of state or gone somewhere because of, but I don't know. I mean, it's, you know, I know they could still take off and be home, but anyway.
Everyone's in the same boat. I don't care whether you're a county employee, where you are, everybody's been in the same boat. I mean, to me, we've still got 5 months for you to use it. I don't want to start making exceptions to rules and everything, because the rules become exceptions.
Okay.
So that's where I'm standing with it.
And when you start making exceptions, you don't know where to start and where to stop.
Right.
And I agree with Bob. I think we need to stay with that manual unless something, you know, gets a lot worse down the road than what it already is. So, and as far as buying back vacation or unused vacation, unused sick leave, I've never been involved in that. I don't think I would agree to get involved in that. But you just open another can of worms that you got to administer.
Is that the consensus then of everybody?
This time, I guess, but I know our health department was the ones that were here constantly. I don't know. Randy's got something he wants to say. I can see it.
I would like us to revisit this at least towards the end of the year, because I've actually canceled some of my employees' vacations because of the fact that, well, I won't go, staffing in the 911 center and the jail due to COVID, that some of their family vacations are summer vacations because that's when the kids are traditionally out of school. So I think we ought to at least revisit it this fall, because unusually, you know, they would have took the vacation and we've had to limit that. So at least maybe allow them to carry it over into the next year or something. Maybe some, you know, I think buyout could get very expensive. And so I think just carryover might be, at least carry it over for a year. And then if they don't lose it, or if they don't use it within that year on the carryover, then they, you know, address it. But maybe revisit it this fall.
And I can agree with that, but 5 months out is a long time.
It
to
is,
say
it is, and we try to get our employees to at least encourage them to take a day here or a day there, if nothing else. Just to get that break from work, because work will burn you out. And so I agree with you that we need to try to put an emphasis on it, but at least let's revisit it this fall, maybe. All right, thank you.
So I will just let them know that you will revisit.
So if that is something that the board is going to consider, as it exists in the policy manual right now, that option does not exist. So if, say, 5 months down the road, that's something that happens, then we'd be going against, the board would be going against its own policy. So if that is something to be considered, then a new policy or a revision or addition needs to be put together to consider that particular option so that the board practices what it preaches in following the policy manual. That's
2 or 3 months, we could take a look at that, but I would say that right now. That's my opinion.
I would like to say that we take a look at it in, say, 2 or 3 months, but I'd also like possibly for some feedback from the employees on what they feel like is a fair solution. And at least we can consider it, even if we didn't agree with it. Or maybe we would agree with it, you know, so. I think we need to look at, because I think a lot of people are looking at it right now because they can see their window of opportunity closing the school in the future. And where they would normally have had a vacation, they won't have it anymore, so.
I would recommend putting the topic on the agenda so that it doesn't get lost in everything else that's going on. And that way it'll pop up and have to be discussed one way or another because it's on the agenda. So 3 months, 2 months down the road, pick a date, put it on, and then it can be discussed again at that time.
Okay, I will get that scheduled then. Another thing I received was a request for road closing for Paul M. Williams at 1711 6th Road, Leroy, Kansas, and I passed that on the way. I think I scanned it in and sent it to you last week, did I? No?
I don't remember seeing it.
Okay. Oh, if not, I'll resend it. But anyway, so we do have that request, so we'll have to get the ball rolling on road viewing and all of that, so.
What's
You
the
wanna
reason
use
for
this?
closure?
Huh?
What's the reason for closure?
Basically, he owns one side of the road and another guy owns it, and it's a dead end. It goes down to the river. And you guys closed one on the other side of the river about 3 or 4 years ago, I think. Do you remember that, Don, down there?
We closed it on the west side. This here goes to the creek.
Yeah, and people are
This will go
using,
down to Long Creek just before it enters into the river. I was unaware of their request, but
he just came
you know, his
in.
house is all within 200 yards of the creek. But the only one that closed that 200 yards, he don't want to close the road, to get to his house, does he?
No, well, no, I mean, he just wants to close it. There's a hill somewhere that the county maintains one side, and then he wants to close it from that point back. Because people are going down there and fishing, and his property's right there.
He's the only one that closed approximately 100 or 150 yards of road.
So anyways.
Because it does go on down to the creek. Used to be able to cross the creek to get to the next 40 acres on the west side, but that hasn't been, haven't had access to that for probably 20 years. They have come into the north now.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And he farms that, I think, and then the other owner is out of Kansas City, I believe.
Last time I knew he lived down in the Branson area, but I'm not sure.
Oh, well.
Can't think of his name, but I'm not sure where he's at now.
Okay.
He's the man that owns the half section on the north.
Yeah. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was that last week we received April 2020 administration fee relief from Delta Dental in the amount of $766.50. Because of the coronavirus developments, they've been challenging for you and your employees and have impacted your lives in many ways, including trips to the dentist. As a result, we are refunding your administration fee from the month of April 2020, a month in which many dental offices were closed or were only seeing limited patients. Your relief payment is enclosed with a letter. So I just wanted you to know that with Delta Dental, we did get that refund, and if we were with our previous, we may not have seen anything like that, I'm not sure, but, so. And I think that's all we have.
Thanks, Angie. Fred, do you have anything for roundtable?
I think our visitors here,
Yeah, but
I don't have anything.
if we can get it out of the way, let's get it out.
Don't let me, my fault.
I didn't want to put you on the back burner.
No, you're fine.
Bob, do you have anything?
Not at the present time.
Don?
Are we gonna revisit some of our budget accounts that we haven't finalized?
I think we had discussed that last week. We'd look at it today, yeah.
Okay. There's 2 or 3 of them need to be revisited, so.
I didn't have anything, Donna.
No, I don't think I have anything either. Let me look at my calendar here. No, I do not.
Lisa, if you're ready.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, my sincere apology for being this late. I want to assure you it's not that I'm disregarding your time at all. I was down at Road and Bridge with a couple of groups of employees, and I told them when I started, I get really caught up in the discussions, and pretty soon I start not paying attention. And then I noticed I had some kind of screwy times on my schedule, and I'm not sure how I did that. But anyway, it really was not that I thought I wasn't being respectful of your agenda, so I do apologize for that. But that being said, we had great discussions this morning, and I'm looking forward to more of them. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an update of where we are. I understand this is your last meeting, my goodness. So I just, for a lot of reasons, thought it was a good time to do this and needed to make another site visit to visit with employees. So one of the things that I spoke with you about 6 weeks or so ago was confirming what your compensation philosophy wants, what you want that to be, and that's something that we're going to need to decide now to confirm, kind of the overall philosophy, if you remember that, because we are getting really close to starting to put together some salary scale proposals for you. And then I had promised you some to answer a question about budget impact and whether kind of what my understanding of what you've planned for holding some money for the results of this, and whether it will be enough. And so I have some feedback on that as well. So kind of where we are, we've done our salary survey. We surveyed 28 comparables, and we got 23 responses, which is really, it's good on a good year. And with this year, as many counties as we're operating under restrictions and partial closures, we felt really good about the response that we got. Angie was very helpful, as was Wade, in reaching out to some people we weren't hearing from and giving them a little nudge and encouragement, and we really appreciate that. That helps us out. We are working on the analysis of that data, and that does take quite a while. But I went through, 2 of us have gone through it, looked at, and just in broad terms, I'll use my own county. When we did our first pay study after I became HR director, we were in the 30th percentile of the market. We were very behind, had a lot of work to do. A lot of our clients that we work with are very behind and have a lot of work to do. You're not in that place. You're not in that 30th percentile. So while I'm not going to get real specific because it would not be the right time to do that, I think the way that you've handled holding some money will be perfectly fine to do adjustments. Certainly there's going to be pockets of positions that are behind, somewhat behind the market, and that happens because of all different types of pressures. So, but I think overall budget-wise, what you've held in kind of a reserve, I think will be just fine. And that's probably as far as I really want to go at this point on those numbers, but reassure you that it's not, you know, way behind like sometimes we run into. So you're to be commended on that.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Do you know of like a lump sum number that we need to kind of have in mind to keep back?
I don't. I guess what I understood was you kept kind of a part of the percentage that you would usually have as a cushion for each department that you put that in.
Okay.
And it just seemed like, was that a 3% or something like that? 3.5. And I think it will fit. We can make it fit within that.
Okay.
Easily. Well, I shouldn't even say the word easy. I don't, you know, yeah, I don't have a dollar number.
Sure. That's okay. We can.
A lot of it, so we'll talk a little bit about that. Some of that number, it comes into how we set up the salary scale. And the schedule you have now is that step schedule. And that seems to be of interest to continue with the step schedule. But to fit people on a certain step, you know, you have to do some adjustments. So, you know, so there will be some adjustments as we standardize those steps a little bit maybe and that type of thing. But I don't want to don't think we have any need to ask you to reserve any more than what you've already done, which is kind of what you see that 3.
Okay. We can 3.5, yeah. We can take that on total payroll.
Yep, I think that would be that'd be a comfortable way to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, and part of the challenge when we do the analysis of these positions, or when you have combined positions, one person doing several things, you have to figure out how to meld the survey. So we surveyed 70 some titles, but you don't have 70 titles in Coffee County, but we needed to do that to get information for all the different hats that people wear. So that's part of the art and science of survey work that we're still working on. Today and tomorrow, I'm meeting with groups of employees, and we asked for 1 to 2 representatives of each job title. So it's not all the employees. If you thought I was late this morning, it would have been more so if I had everyone. But it's an opportunity for us to sit down and make sure that I really understand their positions. They filled out questionnaires. I see their job descriptions, but then they have some input. Making sure I understand what the difference between a driver and an equipment operator is. And, you know, should there be a difference? And, you know, all the questions that we asked. Get their feedback on what they think of the benefits of the county, the salary schedule, how it's laid out. It's just gathering a lot of information and giving the employees an opportunity for some feedback that then we can bring to you. So that's today, tomorrow, and I'll be reviewing very similar information to this with department heads tomorrow afternoon. So that's kind of where we are in there. As a comment on the compensation philosophy, I don't know, I haven't been able to watch all the commission meetings. I don't know if you've talked about it anymore. I've talked individually when we did our initial meetings with you, talking about typically a good compensation philosophy is to meet the market. Once in a while, a public entity will want to be slightly above the market because they have pressures from a private employer, or like for Geary County, I'll use Geary as an example. I think I used it in our meetings. We went slightly, for a while, above market because we had Fort Riley sitting right next door with all the federal positions, and we were feeling a lot of pressure there. I'm not sure that they're still at that. I think they're back to doing just market. But that's the feedback I need from you as a commission to move forward, is where do you want to stand within the comparable market? To meet it, to exceed it. Rarely do we have anyone that want to be below it because you can't attract and retain employees, but.
With the diversity of Coffee County, how do you arrive at the market?
Well, you remember that
To me,
we.
that's gonna be awful difficult.
Well, and remember, we had we reviewed the comparables we were going to use, and I brought those to you. We used surrounding counties, we used similar population counties. We used a county in Missouri that has a nuclear power plant to see how that impacts their county operations and pay. We used a little bit of state on some positions, and we used some federal on some positions because of those very unique things. But yeah, that market was a combination of population and tax base and similar positions and similarly situated pressures, and ag versus, counties with a good combination of ag and a number of municipalities. You guys have a lot of municipalities in your county, a lot of cities. So those 28 that we did back in May, I think it was.
For me, I'd like to see us meet it. I think we're in the same boat as you said, Riley County, we got government money sitting there. I mean, we got Wolf Creek sitting there, so it's just kind of the same boat.
For me, it's whether we meet it or exceed it, I just want to see it more across the positions within the county. We probably more consistent, that's where I'm at. Because we probably have some that exceed it, and we probably have some that are under, regardless of where we're at overall. But I'd like to see those that are under, at least, probably meet it, not exceed it. Still doesn't answer your question.
No, I'm just listening. I mean,
that's how I feel.
Because you guys have to kind of.
Yeah, if there's somebody that's falling behind, yes, they need to be standard, yes.
And I think that's important for the folks that are listening and the folks that will view this. A couple of points that you brought up, and actually to Don's point as well. I liken a salary survey similar to mass appraisal that your appraiser's office does. They don't come into your house and look at every crack in your wall like an appraiser does to put a market value when you're selling your house. They just can't. Similarly, in salary surveys, we can't find someone who does exactly what your survey crew chief does. But we go out to all the counties and we gather all the information, and then we do an analysis. What ones are outliers? Why are they outliers? We may call them and ask for their job description. Yours is quite a bit lower than we expected. Oh, it's because they're very narrow in their scope, and maybe yours does more. Yeah, I'm just, these are just examples. So survey work is a mass survey. It's not going to get down to the nth degree, but it's going to be a close combination of skills and knowledge that people need to have that position. So that's one thing. And then every time you do a survey, there will be positions that need adjustment. And that's because, market, we've gone through, I'll pick on IT. Over the last 20 years, you couldn't buy an IT person, and then a bubble bursts and suddenly IT isn't quite as hard to find, and now IT is getting hard to find again. Finance people, same way. It ebbs and flows. Who right now wants to, I would imagine that, I know that correction officers are hard to find. I would guess that law enforcement officers are going to be hard to find. So there's always ebbs and flows. Clerical administrative assistants are coming up in just the general market. Not going to say your market, but just the general market. So there will always be positions that we need to adjust to meet the market. Now you're shy.
I would just like to meet it. I don't want to exceed it. I think that some of the people, the majority of the people that we lose to go to Wolf Creek, I think we're ahead of most everybody else around us other than Wolf Creek. And I would say that a lot of the people we leave go to Wolf Creek, they don't leave because of the salary. They leave because of other problems. So I don't think that the salary is a big issue that takes, that Wolf Creek's taken away from us because of salaries. And I would just say that from experience because I've lived here since Wolf Creek's been here.
And that may be a good start. And in X years, or, I mean, this isn't something you do once and you're done with it. It's gonna have to be reevaluated. You know, whether we have an outside company do it or we do it or going forward. But at least it's a starting point. If we say we met it now, here's where we're at, here's what, you know, here's what happened from it.
Wolf Creek shuts down in 3 years, it's gonna change this thing.
The market's gonna change a lot.
Change a lot. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meet the market.
My objective would be to meet the market.
Okay.
I just feel like it's gonna be a difficult structure to totally get, but you've done this for your living, and I've got a lot of trust in what you're gonna bring to the table, Lisa.
Thank you.
And so my thought is, you know, is to meet the market the best way we possibly can with our diversification that we currently have.
Right.
I keep saying diversification, but we're more diverse than most counties.
Yes.
Especially with 8,000 people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Fred, we haven't heard from you and you've always got an opinion.
Well, I gave her a pretty good opinion when we first met. I think meet the market is what we need to do right now.
Okay. Do you, do we need to have a vote on that, or do you, is consensus good? It's up to you, different counties do different things.
Sounds like we're all thinking the same thing, so I don't know if we need a motion.
So what I usually do then is we put that in our report that we recommend, based on your feedback, we recommend this be your compensation philosophy, and it usually involves things like good benefits and meet the market on pay to attract and retain employees, and then you actually vote on that as a part of the report. So if that's acceptable to you, then that's, we'll do that.
Yeah, I think sooner or later it needs to be documented in the minutes, and we normally document motions mostly only. So sooner or later it needs to be in the minutes, that's where the board actually stands.
Right.
And what we're expecting.
Yeah, that is important. So at whatever point you think that's important and appropriate weight, I guess I would defer to you, or.
I think once it's called an executive summary or something like that, that's the report.
Yes.
I think once the executive summary comes out and the board has the opportunity to review that, then that's where that official position of the board as a whole can be. And then there's paper documentation that can go with it to reflect that, if someone wanted to make an open records request for that document, so they can see exactly what it means when you're talking about meeting the market. So that's my position.
I'm gonna say, after we meet the market, we might change our minds.
Well, and that executive, that's a good point, Wade. The executive report includes the list of comparables who participated and who didn't, a list of the titles we surveyed. We have graphs and charts that talk about where, you know, how many positions were behind, how many met the market, reasons why they might be, because just because someone meets, a position meets the market doesn't mean that they're going to stay exactly at 50%, because internal equity, getting things balanced, could push them to the 52nd percentage, you know, and then years of experience. So we include descriptions and definitions in there that I think will make it all very, very clear and doable. We'll be back again to talk about a step schedule and propose one, and then we usually include, typically it's 2 implementation options if you need them. Once in a while, we've had to do 3. Again, I'll use my county as an example. They had to present us a 3-year phase-in for a 30% of market issue that we had. We did it in 2 years because we all buckled down on our expenses and made it happen. But that's just, what we had to do. So we'll give you a couple of implementation options but yeah, I appreciate your confidence. And Dr. McGrath has been doing this 20 years, and she and I are in constant conversation about this too. So we have more than just me looking at it, I guess, is my reassurance there.
When you told us we were within the 3.5%, we can't be that far.
Right. You have pockets of positions that I want to look much more closely at that concern me. And then others that just are really, and I don't know that should surprise anyone a lot, because it's and your benefits really help. Your benefits, I haven't summarized as much on the benefits, but you have great benefits, and that will even help that more. Now, that being said, you can't eat, as employees remind me all the time, you can't eat benefits. So there's a trade-off. They're important, and they certainly feed into total compensation, but we'll balance those as well. But no, again, if I had grave concerns that lots and lots of positions appear to be in that 30 to 30% of market, I would be asking you to delay a little bit longer or put more money in. But I really think we can do it within that 3.5%. I really do.
Lisa, question?
Yes.
Because it's come up during commission meetings and recent candidate forums. What is the schedule? Are we on schedule to have this completed, and what's the anticipated timeline?
Okay, good question. Yeah, actually, we are a little bit ahead of schedule from what you'll recall in the proposal. Of course, when we do a proposal, it's based on the due date and anticipating starting maybe within a month, and so we had labels there. But in terms of what we usually have done in month 1, month 2, month 3, we are on schedule to a little bit ahead of schedule. Because you weren't able to start quite as soon as, it was open, which is understandable. We just have to pick a starting point. But B is, I was concerned about this schedule because of COVID, and have been watching that pretty closely, and it is not. We actually did extend the salary survey part longer than we typically do, because I was concerned about responses, and that's when Wade and Angie jumped in and got us, I think I asked them twice to get people, ask people, and they did, and that really helped. So looking at that, actually yesterday I was looking at that schedule again. We are dead on to maybe just a couple weeks ahead. So next step will be finishing that very detailed analysis, having it reviewed, and then starting to build what this might change into, which is your salary scale, what that might change into, and build some draft idea of that, recommendations. We'll come back, meet with department heads, show them, here's what we're looking at, here's where we see things fit, here's where the market's showing us, and get that part finalized. On the HR audit piece, I don't have the dates scheduled, but about the 3rd week in August, I think it is, we're looking at. I have another consultant I'm trying to get lined out to come with me. We'll be coming back out to do some one-on-one employee question, a series of meetings. It won't be all employees. Actually, I've already started, I have a randomizer that randomly selects employees to ask them to do a personal one-on-one question answer, and then the rest will be offered that through a survey monkey, like computerized survey to participate. So on the HR audit piece, and those will be questions like about handbook policy, handbook compliance, supervisory support, coworker support. I mean, just there's a gamut that we use. After primary election, Denise and I will get to spend some time together, but I've tried to leave them alone a little bit, but until today it came up, but Denise and I haven't had a chance yet to, look at the payroll stuff and I-9s and things like that she does. So we'll be spending some time there, but because of the budget, we really hit the salary study first and foremost. And then the very last step in the project, after all the reports, is to update your job descriptions. And, I think that'll be the first of the year probably before those take a while to get going and get a template approved and reviewed.
So the end date is still around October, November time period, just so.
I think so, yes. Yeah, I think so. I'll get my proposal out again and see. Yeah, that chart plus when we started about 6 to 8 weeks after that one started, so. Yep, it will still be a fall, I would call it mid to late fall final reports and then job descriptions after that. But the salary study part will be done, can be done ahead of the audit part. So if you need that for planning end of year, planning January 1 things, you can sure be flexible on making that report more final than the HR audit, if that's helpful to you. Anything else that I should have covered, didn't cover, wish I would have covered, other than being on time would have been good.
Ravon,
It worked out.
I can't think of anything, sounds like covered all the bases to me.
Yeah, I think I'll see you after the meeting. Maybe.
Okay. Sure. Well, hopefully the feedback from the employees will be that the time, both this morning and the next 2 days, is helpful and valuable. They were very responsive, and nobody sat on their hands and didn't say anything. And I just, that's what I really enjoy. It really gets, their thoughts and ideas, and hopefully I give them some thoughts and ideas to have a different perspective.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Conservation.
30. Conservation district. questions or comments on the Conservation District budget?
Okay, I got a question on Dakota County supports, same as it was a year ago, only 1,000 greater than it was actuals in 2019. The budget's considerably less than it was in 19, mostly due to contractual being down by 14.
Say down with the next one. 49. Same as last year. Dawn, did you have any others you wanted to discuss?
I'm sorry.
Did any others you wanted to look at?
You know, one of them I was a little bit confused about when it was presented, and with all due respect to our Chamber of Commerce on Joanne. The document that we received is 33,000 on the 2020 budget and 52,000 on the 21. Those funds, I didn't understand was coming from our Economic Development Department. Which is number 45. And this with Rhonda, you know, most of those line items, she's already doing, and for the 2021, the request is payroll adjustment for, if I'm understanding things correctly, for the director and assistant, for 26,000 to come out of the economic development, and 6,000 to pay for the health insurance for the director. So
Guess I'm in the lost. You're talking about a proposal someone came in and gave us, and we're looking at Rhonda's, who is our director, we're looking at her budget.
but these funds are coming out of her budget, which she doesn't agree with, as I understand.
She's not proposing those funds come out.
I'm sorry?
She is not proposing that those funds come out of it. This
Correct.
lady is proposing that those funds be taken out of it.
Did we
Rhonda,
approve any
Rhonda's not proposing anything to come out of it.
No, this is Joanne proposing.
I know, but Joanne is not an employee with us.
I understand.
Did we approve Joanne's
No.
proposal?
No.
We did not.
So I'm just asking for some direction on where, if we allow that 52,000 for next year, where's it coming from? There's a lot of her expenditures that she's got set out, Rhonda's already doing.
Correct.
Well, I'm
Pardon?
minded to I'm not in the mindset to approve it.
So right now, we're not awarding, we're not approving any of the budget requests by Joanne?
No, why would we?
That's my.
That's what I'm asking.
Why would we?
Okay,
We have Rhonda's budget in front of us,
that's correct.
who is our economic
So we
development
deny,
director.
we deny the chamber's request.
Well, we're not denying it, we're looking at Rhonda's economic development budget is what we're working at with our
So
budget.
this is still funds dispersed by Ron. In turn, do we set up funds for Joanne?
No.
Why?
You could
Are we
always-
denying these funds requests?
No, it's not part, this is the county's budget.
Okay,
So what we're approving, getting ready to do for next week is when the auditors come, this is in preparation of the counties. If you want to do something different for the chamber later, you could take it out in community improvement, or you could do it
Okay.
anywhere, yeah.
Okay.
So
I
hers
just want to
doesn't,
make sure
yeah,
that it
hers
wasn't
wouldn't have anything to do
negative
with
on Rhonda's
today.
responsibility.
No, this is just Rhonda's, what you have in front of you.
She's down 44,000.
So what, Tom?
She's down close to 44,000. Why would we approve that?
From actual 19, she's down 64,000.
Pardon me?
From actual 19, she's down 64,000.
There's not a lot happening in economic development, that's for sure. Hopefully we get somebody on board to change that.
Which one are we, Tom?
I thought we were still on economic development, sorry. That's where I was at anyway. What's our next one?
I think that those were the only ones you hadn't looked at yet.
Okay.
Actually, on the economic development, you mentioned it's down. Transfer special expenditures, how does that come to play, or what?
That's when,
What's that involved?
well, at the end of the year, if she's transferred any money out
So
to,
that's where we transfer funds
Right.
out.
to any reserves.
Because the contractual's up at 24, capital outlay's up by, 25 or 30. Yet the budget request is down by 65, so that's, in 2019, we had the extra funds that we moved out.
Right.
Okay. I was pretty confident that's what it was about. Do we need to look, which one are you looking at? So you're,
I was talking over economic development. Did they have any others want to look at specifically?
I was looking at Randy's here on the sheriff, the actual was 1 point. The jail and the lake seem to be pretty well on board with, 6% or 6.5% a year ago and 3% for 21. On the sheriff's department, on the personnel service, 1.458. And I just took it times 1.65, which pretty well equals the forecast for 2020. And then I added another 3% to that. To get to the budget request, and you put all three departments together, the proposal budget request is a little over 200,000 more than the 3 or 3.5%. And I know we got overtime involved, and like the road and bridge, those two departments can end up with a lot of overtime. But the request itself is greater than what we've set. I didn't really want to leave that much extra in there.
You can't combine the three together.
I realize that. The jail and lake is pretty well on board. If you go 3% over the budget for 2020, which is pretty well in line with what we allowed for 2020, there's a difference of 120,000 there. That's a small percentage compared to the total overall budget. Is it, within tolerance? That's, I guess, the question. on the sheriff, we got the 5 monthly pays, it's at 334. We have our other employees, a total of 1,138,000 and the overtime projection at 30. Those 3 items add up to 1.5 and the request is 1,733, so there's a budget request is an extra 200,000, 225,000 greater than what the spreadsheet is showing.
Not quite sure how to look at that with you, Dawn. I mean,
Sorry?
I said I'm not quite sure how to look at that with you. I mean, just with Randy not gonna be sheriff next year, I mean, do we leave it up to the new sheriff? I think you got to kind of approve a budget now, but I mean, maybe the new sheriff has a different philosophy. I don't.
Yeah, on the pay scale, the wage study may make some changes for us, but.
Yeah. That's mine. I mean, that's what would put me on the
There's some what ifs.
fence, if you will.
There's some what ifs there,
Yeah.
and I fully understand that. And whether, with the new sheriff coming in, I wouldn't think, because the actual projection on these 2 spreadsheets, it comes in a little over 200,000 below this budget request. And if you go 3% or 3.5% over the request for the budget for 2020, it's still 120,000 over that. So the spreadsheet's got, if it's accurate, then the budget request is out of line of 200 plus. If the spread, now I assume the spreadsheet's accurate. Looks to me like it is. Because most all of them are getting step increases. And the monthly employees are basically getting 3%. And yet the request is 200 above that.
completion for that, or?
So if we're not gonna, I mean, if we get to the point where we're not allowed, we'll probably need to have some explanation on it. I don't think I'm overlooking anything.
You want me to see if I can get it?
Don, do you want to have Randy come in? When he's
Well,
got his-
I think we need to have a visit about coding speed. Because these numbers exceed the spreadsheet projection by over 200,000, unless I'm totally missing something. But I'm just pulling the totals off of the spreadsheet.
His spreadsheet here,
I'm sorry?
of his, that came from the sheriff's,
Yep.
for personnel services.
Because they're at the top, the monthly salaries are it's 334,000 there. And you go to the second sheet, the hourly employees are all 1.138 plus the overtime. And that totals to 1.502. And the salary budget request is 1,733, 225,000 over and above their projection. So, and I don't know who prepared the spreadsheets. I assume that they looked at them if they are accurate.
He's throwing hammers.
I caught the edge of it, flipped it off the table. Thank you.
You
And
realize,
based on our step chart, and the final 2021 budget has got the 3% added into it, so the spreadsheet appears to be accurate compared to our salary structure. And there's nobody that's got any more respect than I do for law enforcement emergency, but the budget request needs to be based more on the spreadsheet than.
but you gotta remember, we're looking at a total new sheriff coming in when this budget takes place. Now, what what Randy has put on there is what Randy thinks should be there.
And we don't know what the wage study is going to do.
And we don't know what the wage study is gonna do, and we're looking at a whole new sheriff who may totally reorganize everything. I just think trying to make it more complicated than what it is.
We set the goal at 3%.
Hey,
We set the goal at 3.
There's
And we're,
Randy. Get on him.
I'm not gonna get on it, I just,
There he
give you
is.
an explanation.
There he is.
It's not that way, Mark.
yeah. Yeah. Oh. What questions you got?
But the whole thing, and really like I said a while ago, there's nobody got more higher respect for law enforcement
Okay.
than I do, absolutely. You know, we set an objective for all of our departments to forecast 2021 to be 3%.
Right.
And if we add the spreadsheets up that somebody from the department put together, those spreadsheets come up to 1.502. And the budget forecast or budget request is 1,733, which is an increase of 225,000 over and above the spreadsheet showing.
I thought we went back and added 3% that we were supposed
Yeah, but
to.
we're exceeding 3 by long ways.
Okay.
There is 3% added. I just got through looking at the wage scale, and the 3% that's projected 21 is accurate.
Okay.
Because I looked at the LE4 and that's what it goes up to. You add the 3% to it and it goes to the 2357. So I assume that those,
Talking numbers from something, I don't know what you're talking
you know,
numbers
that's
from.
what, I didn't know who prepared it, Randy.
Well, I looked at it. I don't prepare them. I look at them though. But what, are you talking on personal services or are you talking about in
Just
general?
Personal service.
Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out what you were talking about specific on
And the
the budget.
spreadsheet totals
Mm-hmm.
is 225,000 greater than the request.
Well, what we projected
So I don't know
was,
where the request comes from.
well, what it was is we looked at everybody, I guess we went from what everybody that was eligible for pay raises next year, and there's a significant number. If you look at the number of employees on the sheriff's side, you know, you look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 specific employees that are eligible for pay raises. You know, that's a good number of employees, I guess.
That's already projected in here.
Right. So I don't know.
We're still 225 above that.
And where do you see the 225?
I just add the totals of the three totals off the spreadsheet.
Okay.
Comes to 1.502.
Okay.
And the request is 1,733.
Go back and look at the spreadsheets, so I see what you're talking about on the salary budget.
So like I said, if I'm missing something, just point it out.
Is that the three total for, like Mike said, the jail, the sheriff's office
This is
and?
Sheriff's office. The jail and the lake basically comes in right in line with what's supposed to,
Okay.
3%.
Sheriff's office. I can go back and look at
The
it.
jail and lake, it's projected to be good.
Okay, I don't know, we'd have to go back and I can run it back through again and see what the numbers, if there's some place that we did something on the formula or what. Is that, I mean, are you thinking that the formula isn't right and the numbers don't match up, or what are you thinking, Don?
Well, the formula's being used evidently, all right. But, you know, I'm just going off the totals of the spreadsheet, which appears to be totally accurate. There's 3% added for all the annual
Right.
salaries and everybody gets a step increase. It's all documented correctly.
Right,
The
but then
overtime, overtime of 30,000 appears to be documented correctly. And yet we got a spread of 225.
okay, I'll go back and look at it and we'll rerun the numbers again.
Like
On
I
the
said, if I
personal.
miss something, fine. You know,
Let me go back and run the personal services number real quick, and we'll go back, we'll pull that spreadsheet up and look at it and see if there's something, because what we should have done, or what I believe we did, was just went off the formulas and then the pay raises. And I think some of this is, or could be, based on the discrepancies that we have on the wage classification system. I think if you look at Let me pull it up here. Maybe that's where.
If there's some corrections there, though, I don't think it's not that many dollars. But
Right, I don't either. I don't think you have to make that significant a dollar either. I don't either. Let me go back and have them pull up our
I'm not
spreadsheets.
trying to make big issues, I'm just trying to.
No, but it needs to be accurate.
Accurate as we possibly.
Oh, I don't disagree. Accuracy is important on this. And so we will go back. Let me run upstairs. You guys can be here for a while, or are you guys about to wrap it up for today? I can have it by next week.
Next week.
Yeah, that'll work. I mean, we can always change that.
I mean, I'll probably have it by the end of today.
Okay. But it can still be done next week and.
I'll have it done we'll get it done by the end of today. We'll see if there is the discrepancies and everything, then I'll get it to get an email out to you guys.
I need to get it in.
Appreciate it.
Okay, yeah, maybe I can get with you and you can go through it with me too to make sure it's accurate and it's on unless you see something that's not. Was personal services the only place where you saw the problem then, or?
Let's send one out there.
You see anything, Andy, where the numbers are
the same.
off?
Well, we got it.
It should have been. You got the updated one?
Yeah, this is the same.
So we're looking at the same one.
That's what I'm wondering, that's what I wonder, if the number got transposed or something. Don't know how, I don't know how numbers, but I don't do the spreadsheets because I don't understand Excel.
Just a second, Randy.
Okay.
There's two different spreadsheets in there.
Oh,
You
okay.
said an updated one.
Right, right. That's what I was referring to when I was talking about the updated 3% and all that, because we went back and redid them.
The longer done.
Hard to close.
Yeah.
They're all fine.
And then, so you did the tip sheet. here,
Right, oh, okay.
And then you get back over there, so he's seen that and that.
Yeah, okay, now I'm following. Did they piggyback?
Oh, the long one didn't have the 3%.
That's what it is.
That's not in there. And then we sent it back, and they gave us another update. And that, yeah, so you shouldn't be using the long.
I must have taken a long one out because this is one.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the most recent, it's on top.
It's true.
You know, sometimes you get too many documents going in. I'm bad about not throwing old documents away and then I look at the wrong one or something.
Yeah.
That's pretty close.
Randy, that's entirely, I was still using the long sheet that's been put in here the first time.
Okay.
And I do remember now that there was a change, and the long one.
Is the change more accurate?
There's still a 156 to spread.
Well, what I wonder is if it's from where the salaried are up there, if that didn't get transitioned down to that bottom number, that's what we're looking at now.
The top number doesn't get moved down to the bottom.
I gotta see what I'm talking about. Make sure we're looking at the same numbers. Shouldn't it?
Okay, there's 334 there.
You're right. And then
And
there's
here, there's a 122 and a 21.
okay.
And that's 156 still.
Difference?
Still
Okay.
less than what your request is. And I apologize, I didn't.
No, that's, Angie was showing me the same thing, that this, and then we were looking at
But it's how,
this.
so you got 3% all the spreads, all the step increases.
Right.
The overtime actually went down to 9,000.
Right.
You know, I'm not sure why that dropped to 9, it was 30.
I'll go up and look, because now I see what you're talking about now, and there's somewhere where either in the formula, a number got added back in, that maybe it got added twice or something. Oh, technology.
It did make a difference of 60,000.
It does, it makes a big
Still off
difference.
156.
So, we're still off there somewhere, and I'll go back and look,
Maybe it's
but
not significant enough based on that big a budget.
but I think it is.
We need to keep all of our departments fairly close.
They need to be accurate on,
As close as we can.
I don't wanna we shouldn't over budget and have that money out there if it's not. The numbers need to be accurate for planning purposes.
The road and bridge is over some too.
Sometimes on personal services, we have those years where we don't have a lot of people anticipated, but then we have those years that.
You have some vacant positions.
Yeah, the vacant positions, I always anticipate trying to hire in at a lower.
You've got them in.
Yeah, and try to keep those, because I don't anticipate hiring high. But.
The road and bridge is above 33% too, so.
We'll go back and pull that up, the new one, and make sure, but there is some, yeah.
Well, that'll still work for Andrew next week.
That's the difference I got.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll get it fixed.
Okay, thanks, Randy.
We will, you're right. We'll get it fixed. I'll just pull that technology, Excel spreadsheets up. Okay.
Go back.
And pencil and paper,
Still off one of those.
I was
And I copy and paste.
And still get it on.
Or is it captured?
a large.
Still getting it.
Exactly what.
Darken it in, type deal, and did delete and.
Anything else, Alan?
The formula versus sales. Luckily, I called my wife.
They can run into a lot of overtime, so I don't know how you want to look at it.
So I called her, she talked me through it.
If they call three of those departments together, there's a difference in 173, road and bridge special solid waste, break them down. That is the total wages of all three departments. I'm just trying to be as fair as I can or whatever.
Yeah, no.
I don't have all the answers yet.
Yeah, it's just the sheriff's side.
Everybody have it?
I'll go pull that and see. I'll figure it out.
Good luck with your next venture.
The way things are going, I might be working from home, we'll see. Adjourned at 11:44.
We'll be running to something.
Run the campsite.
I just have some applications to hand out.
11:44.
Thank you.
Go in through and see sometime, the best election is new opportunities. So it's been great to work with you for a short time.
For the time you were here.
You what, Fred?
Thanks for the time he was here.
Absolutely.
Good luck. You gonna start selling equipment then?
No.
They'll keep that.
Yeah.
Is it gonna rain today?
Yeah.
Or rephrase that. Is it
I
gonna rain?
think-
Is it gonna rain in Waverly
I
today?
think we're so, these rain forecasts are so isolated, it's unreal. I didn't go through the railroad this morning, because I'd have to drive, got to drive 12 miles just to get around Leroy.
Well, we were at that T-ball game last night, or last T-ball game. Kinda checked the weather, it's at 90% chance of rain, and they said the storm was heading out of Burlington, northeast at 10 mile an hour, and this and that. I'm like, I'll go put the chairs in the truck, they're about done. I said, just